So through various means, came up with this idea that I thought I'm going to crowdsource my dating life. I am going to create a brief of what I'm looking for. Just a one-page simple brief.
Spoken like a true organisational psychologist.
That's insane. My brain's exploding.
I know, I love it.
Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders, both past and present. I'm Cameron Daddo.
I'm Ali-Daddo.
How are you, sweetheart?
I'm good.
Ready for this?
Yeah, I am.
I think, I've got a feeling we're going to be schooled on a number of topics today.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we have a couple who are highly intelligent, high achievers, yet they kind of have this touch of Renaissance person about them.
What does that mean to you, a Renaissance person? I know I have a definition of Renaissance person.
You tell me the definition.
Well, a Renaissance person is defined as someone with talents and skills in cognitive, physical and social pursuits.
That's what
Dr. Google said.
Dr. Google says that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look,
You don't think I could come up with that on my own?
no, I could tell.
I probably could.
No, not that I could tell, but just sort of, it was very clinical, so that's
Absolutely.
not normally your language.
No, it's not my language.
Well, look, she is an organisational psychologist, a top-rating podcaster who talks with the world's most successful people about habits, rituals and strategies for optimising their day. She's also the author of best-selling books, and she had a record deal.
That's what I mean, right? That's the Renaissance thing.
Crazy.
You know, and she's into musical theatre.
Yes.
So we have that going on.
Totally.
Together.
Yep.
And what was he saying? She claims to be a freakishly good table tennis player.
Yes.
Wonder why she's not now.
I don't know.
There she was. Her husband is a technological expert who helps businesses figure out how artificial intelligence, aka AI, can make things better for their customers and employees. It goes by the name of Neo. Now, for those Matrix fans out there who just wet their pants, I did too.
Oh, Lord. This could be an interesting chat. Let's welcome them into the bathroom, Dr Amantha Imber and Neo. Dr Amantha Imber and her wonderful husband, Neo, welcome to the bathroom. Nice to have you here.
It is good to be here, although I feel like you've prematurely married us. Neo is not my husband, but he is my partner. No, it's funny. We were talking about this a couple of days ago. We are not yet married. We're not opposed to it.
Did you set this up, Amantha? Is this part of some plan to get something out of it?
Yeah. I've got something to ask you, Neo. No, that's a joke.
This is a Dorothy Dix Parliament question where Amantha has supplied us with some information so that she can deliver some news to you now, Neo.
You're welcome, Amantha. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. We've only got Neo as your name, Neo. We don't have a last name. We've just got Neo, and it's written in capital letters, so it's quite special.
Oh, you've got to yell it when you say it.
Yeah.
No, I'm like Madonna and Cher. No, it's Neo Aplin is my name.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. You don't need a last name with Neo as the first name. That's super cool.
Well, for the Matrix fans, they're going off right now. But we might just leave that alone
which
for a
we
little
are
while.
some
I know.
of, yeah.
We are.
So, all right, let's walk us through the first meeting. How did you guys meet each other?
Well, we met on Hinge. So we are both divorced. Interestingly, we separated from our respective partners within a month of each other. So in August and September 2019, and early in January 2022, we were both on Hinge, the dating app, at the same time. Neither of us had been on it for that long, actually, and that is how we first connected.
Nice.
Was that a big decision to do that, Neo, to jump onto Hinge? I mean, it seems fairly well. I'm thankfully I've not been in that situation where our relationship is finished and we've moved on. But was that a hard thing to do, to jump on?
It was at the time, but only because of some of my background, which was I went on the dating apps, I don't know, about 3-4 months after I separated back in 2019-20. And then lockdowns happened and life went on. And so I had a really hard lockdown by myself for the lockdown 6. And then was wondering, am I ready? This is January, and am I ready to start dating again, or am I still a bit battle scarred from lockdowns?
Yeah.
But was so fortunate that the timing just worked out great for me. And we met within, I think it was about 2 weeks of me being on Hinge.
And Hinge is the one, our daughter met her boyfriend on Hinge. She says that's the best one. Have you found that too? Did you try them all? Did you try Bumble and the lot of them?
Yeah, I definitely did. So I'd spent a lot of time on dating apps. I work in management consulting. Sales is part of what I do. And I began to see it as essentially a part-time job, which if you are trying to find a partner through the apps, and we're both in our mid-40s and we were when we met, it's, for me it was like a part-time job, and I thought of it as a sales funnel. And it's like I had to spend a certain amount of time on the apps. I think Bumble was probably the one where I spent the most amount of time. I'd kind of gone on and off Hinge. But it was like, okay, I need to go through a huge quantity of people to filter that down to a small number of quality individuals. And so I was doing that, over, I don't know, about 18 months. So it was, it was fortuitous that Neo and I were on Hinge at the same time.
Were you exhausted from that?
Exhausted. And this is in amongst the Melbourne lockdown.
I was going to say, you guys went through lockdown in Melbourne, which was probably the hardest place to go through it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, like, for me, for example, I had a bit of a process, which is going to sound really anal of me, but I did, because I also part of my work is helping people with productivity and using time more wisely. So I was quite sort of deliberate and thoughtful about my process for dating. And so I'd always, for example, swap some voice memos or audio messages first, because I feel like you can tell so much about someone in how they speak as opposed to how they text, which is quite limited in terms of data that you're getting. And if I kind of got a good feel for them via how they sounded, then we'd progress to a phone conversation. And I tried to keep those to just 15 minutes, because I feel like if after 15 minutes you're still wanting to talk to the person, that's a pretty good sign. And by the same token, like a lot of people, and for me, I was dating men, a lot of men can go through a 15-minute phone conversation without asking you a single question, which is a bit of a warning sign. And then I went on many first dates.
I'm not looking at my husband right now. I'm not looking at him.
You can't look at me for that. There was a time when you could, but not now.
I know. That's why I didn't look at you. But I saw you look at me. That's why I was
it was your tone. You went,
Oh.
She did that. Coming back. Yeah, mama.
No, but I also agree with Amantha that sometimes that's not as strong. Look, women do it too. Women can talk for 15 minutes straight about themselves and not ask any questions too. But I'm just agreeing with Amantha. Continue. Go.
Yeah.
Please.
So
it might also be a societal thing. I think there's so many times where we're only just texting to each other, to our friends, our mates, and our potential dates. So there are a lot of keyboard warriors out there who just can't converse.
Yeah, keyboard warriors. Yeah. So I'm not about the keyboard warriors.
Okay,
so,
and they have good banter too, a lot of those people. Like the keyboard, like the ones, especially Twitter people who do it within a certain amount of characters. Pretty good banter going on. But you prefer the conversation
with someone that you're actually going to date and potentially be with, not little sound bites to each other all the time, right?
That's right. That may now be written just by ChatGPT. So who knows if you're actually getting the person anyway.
Right.
But I remember our first phone conversation, because there was a phone screening process, and we ended up talking for over an hour. And I remember saying to Neo at the time, I'm like, we cannot talk for longer than this, because I feel like I was feeling a really strong connection to him, but also I was really wary that I'd had a few instances where I'd had long initial phone conversations with people, and then I'd built them up into this fantasy in my head and inferred all these positive qualities because we'd had this great phone conversation, and then that leaves you with really high expectations, and you can only go down from there. So I remember I said to Neo, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. We just need to go. I want to keep talking, but we just need to hang up now and just like pause until we get to meeting each other in person.
And it worked.
And how long was it before you did actually get to meet each other in person? How long did you do the voice memos and all that?
Amantha is a productivity expert, so I think it was 6 days.
But you were away camping.
That's true.
That got in the way.
That's true.
And was the camping, was that what's the word I'm looking for? A positive sign for you, Amantha? The fact that Neo was camping?
It was, even though I hate camping. I really hate camping. But it was a positive sign because it's like, oh, this is a guy that's got his own life and his own hobbies and being out in nature. And even though I've become much more of a nature person since being with Neo. I mean, nature's wonderful. I'm not anti-nature, but I don't like spiders and bugs and things like that. And I had bad camping experiences as a child. But that was a really good thing.
Okay, so Neo, it was 6 days. You were away camping, you came back, and then what happened?
I thought we'd do one of those activity dates where you're not just sitting and having a glass of wine. Why not actually do something? And the great things about the activity dates are you can see how someone's at new experiences. We went bowling, 10-pin bowling. So I think, how they're going to go with competitive behaviours and having some fun. And I don't really recommend bowling as a first date.
Why?
We succeeded despite bowling. For one, it had great 80s, 90s music, which is kind of our heartland, but way too loud. So we had to shout at each other over that. The benefit is you don't have to have that, deep, meaningful, talking to each other for the first couple of minutes. It's light banter, which was great.
Yep.
And then you can, good bowl, bad bowl. You can laugh at yourself. You can laugh with each other.
And you can look at their bum as they go down there and toss the ball down.
That was a bonus. Yes, I'll give you that one. And then we went out for a drink after that, which was great.
And sometimes the shoes don't look cute with the outfit that you've organised for a girl, I have to say. Like I've been hit with that before. I was like, these shoes do not look cute on me.
Yeah.
When do they look cute though, ever?
I look better on guys, I feel. I don't know.
Oh, bowling shoes are cool. I actually bought a pair of bowling shoes. Walked around Los Angeles in bowling shoes for a couple of years.
Bowling type.
Feeling
Neo, when did it become clear to you that you were sort of part of this, not that it's an experiment that Amantha was doing, but like her incredible genius mind of working out how to date someone? When was it clear that you were a part of that whole experience?
Oh, God, first date. I'd never moved from text chats to voice chats that fast before.
Right.
And Amantha was all about the voice chat, which I appreciate, although there's a lot of pressure on you when you do that. Because you're not quite sure whether, I'm not confident speaking. That's not my job. It's not what I normally do. And so doing that voice conversation backwards and forwards was actually a relief. But at the very first one was like, am I doing this right?
So I guess that must have played in your mind a bit. So you sort of got, if you're a little bit insecure and feeling a bit judgy, then that would probably play on you a bit.
Well, the judge more on me.
That's what I mean.
I'm
the
one of these
self-judgment.
people, I want to do everything right. And particularly with dating, you want to come across really well, right?
Yeah.
And so after those first couple of voice chats, it just became quite natural. Although when I found out she was doing a podcast, I then understood why her need was to do that voice chat rather than the text chat, because that's her natural habitat, to be able to be like that talking part. But I love being able to talk to people because that's where you get the true heart of the meaning behind the words. You get more of a sense of who they are. So the talking was brilliant.
What was it about each other that you really began to like or fall in love with? Like, what was it that you went, this guy or this lady?
Well, for me, something that I had done quite a lot of work in therapy around over the 2 years leading up to meeting Neo was that around attachment theory, and I imagine you've had other guests talk about attachment theory, but for me what was happening is that I had a few short to medium term relationships between separating from my ex-husband and meeting Neo. And I found that with the ones where I was more emotionally invested, I was also feeling quite unsettled and quite anxious about how that guy was feeling about me and constantly second guessing, are they as invested emotionally as me? And what I learned, and I guess unpacked through therapy, is that I was, for various reasons, choosing these men that were an avoidant attachment style and were a bit afraid of intimacy, which I think is a large proportion of men on dating apps that are in our age group. And that's potentially, why they're not in a long-term sort of secure relationship. And I was choosing these men and because I guess they were sort of nervous about, getting too close to someone emotionally, I was like, I need more reassurance. And I was feeling insecure. And I guess they were activating this anxious attachment style in me. And so I was never feeling really calm and great about the relationship. But I think I was mistaking the anxiety that I was feeling for, oh my gosh, I'm falling in love, and that kind of heightened emotional experience. And what really struck me with Neo, I mean, he's got so many amazing qualities, but something that struck me that was really different to what I'd experienced with all the other men that I had been dating in my 40s is that I just was overcome with this feeling of calmness and security, and there was no game playing. I knew where he stood. I knew how he felt about me, and what he said matched his behaviour. And I think with a lot of other men, what they said didn't match their behaviour, and there was inconsistencies there. So I think that was the fundamental thing. I mean, he's got so many other wonderful qualities. I could list a whole shopping list of them, but that's the thing that struck me.
Yeah, nice. How about you, Neo?
Yeah.
I'd say upfront intelligence, sense of humour, and probably number one for Amantha is curiosity. She does run, and we both do run experiments all the time, which we can tell you about later if you're interested. In that there's always a different way of looking at things. There's always a different thing you can do. And because of that, no topic is off limits. And I love being able to talk about absolutely anything. Like I'm in IT, but I'm a generalist at heart, and I love just talking about anything. And I found with Amantha, you've got a great sparring partner for those kind of conversations, but also being able to share how you feel, and she's very receptive to that as well. So yeah, that came up really early, even in the phone chats before we met face to face.
It strikes me you guys it's very much like for like, because as Amantha, as you were talking, you're obviously a highly intelligent person, and you've got a lot of the lingo sort of that you speak in a certain way, and you've done therapy, and so you have that ability. I imagine there are some men that you came across that are just like, can't we just go out for a beer? Let's just keep this simple. Why do we have to, do that sort of, but it's like for like. And Neo, clearly you're a highly intelligent fellow as well, and that lovely word curious. I think it's so important in a relationship to remain curious. And so, it really strikes me that when we get to this sort of age, you're in your 40s or 50s or 30s or something, we like what we like, and we've been through all that a lot of experimenting, anything. We like to say that we're still kind of curious and learning about life and diving into places that we don't know. But you get a better idea of what you want. And so it must have been in that dating pool, as you said, it took you a while to find your guy to come up, to rise to the surface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what happens, and certainly what I've experienced, and I think Neo's the same, is that when you're in your 40s and you're dating, I know for me I was definitely more reflective and thoughtful about what I was looking for. And I'd had this experience actually a couple of months before meeting Neo, where I was feeling really frustrated with the dating apps. Like, they were just driving me mad, and the amount of time that I was investing, and for zero results, because at that point in time, I hadn't found someone that I'd wanted to be my, long-term life partner. And I just thought, there's got to be another way. And, I thought, like, with all the people that I know through the work that I do, surely I could maybe leverage that in some way. And so through various means, came up with this idea that I thought, I'm going to crowdsource my dating life. I am going to create a brief of what I'm looking for, just a one-page simple brief.
Spoken like a true organisational psychologist.
It's insane. My brain's exploding.
I know, I love it. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so you crowdsource, yes.
So crowdsource. So I'm like, I'm going to get it down onto one page. There's really simply what is at the heart of what I'm looking for in who I think I'd be most suited for, because I'm not going to be suited to a lot of people in this world. But I'm going to be really, really suited to a certain type of person. And so I got that down on paper. And then I thought, I'm not going to reach out to my close friends, because if they knew someone that they thought could be the sort of person I would match with, they would have introduced me already. So instead, I put together a list of people that were a couple of degrees removed. So people that knew me and got me as a person, but were really well connected to people that I was not well connected to. And I was so nervous. I put together a short list of 50 people, and then I thought, I'll just reach out to 10 to start this experiment. And I was so nervous putting myself out there. I remember sending people this brief and going, hey, would you like to be, help me crowdsource some dates? Oh. And everyone was so wonderful about it and quite intrigued, and probably just the novelty of it appealed to them as well. And I ran this essentially a 4-week experiment to try to crowdsource dates. And that process made me reflect in terms of who am I really looking for.
Yeah.
It didn't secure me a single date, I might add, for various reasons.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I was as well. But I think it was because I was really clear in what I was looking for. And while people are like, look, I know a few single men, they're just not in line with what you're looking for, so I'm not going to waste your time. So the experiment failed, but it was fun. But it did get me really clear on what I was looking for. And when I met Neo, I remember I'd showed him the brief, actually, I think maybe on our second or third date, and told him what I'd been up to before I, got back on Hinge through failing at that experiment. But I mean, I knew what I wanted and what I felt like was going to be most compatible. So I was really, really mindful of that process.
It's kind of, I mean, what you did was create a vision board, didn't you? And it's the essence of research, because you search and then you didn't find it, and then you research again, and
because I was thinking the same thing. The experiment did actually work, because you ended up knowing what you really wanted, but you had to do the experiment to get to that place, in that way, and then find Neo after that. So, it didn't work in the original sense of what you were after, but it ended up working. So I've never heard anyone going about dating like that before. Amazing. That's amazing.
What you've mentioned the word experiment several times now, Neo. You said if you want to go into that, what other experiments are you guys doing?
They're trying to reanimate mice at home and stuff like that.
We do small ones from like food experiments and how we can do different things like that. But over the last probably year, it's been more health experiments than anything else.
Yeah, so that's been driven by me working on my latest book, The Health Habit.
That's your passion, really, and it has been before you even wrote the book. It's not book comes first, therefore health comes. You've been doing this for years. Yeah,
absolutely. So, I mean, one experiment that we ran about a year ago that was very novel for Neo is that it was during the Christmas holidays, and Neo was kind of pretty tired. It had been a big year at work, sort of feeling a bit burnt out. I was just starting work on the manuscript for The Health Habit, and and we were thinking about, okay, how can we sort of re-energize Neo and do experiments for the book. And I don't know if you've heard of a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM. but essentially...
No.
they're-
Is this for diabetics?
Yes, it is
yeah.
traditionally for diabetics.
Yeah.
It is quite unusual for non-diabetics to use a CGM. But essentially what it is if you imagine a table tennis ball squashed flat, it's about that size, and it and imagine that there's a needle sticking out of it, and you essentially stick that device to kind of like where your triceps are, the back of your arm, and you've essentially got a needle sticking into measuring your blood glucose or blood sugar levels, and it stays in there for 2 weeks. It sounds hideous. I mean, the idea of having a needle stuck in you for 2 weeks.
It's not a big needle, though.
It is.
It's a needle.
It probably doesn't.
It's a needle, Neo.
It's not a big needle, as if that makes it better.
Exactly.
So you stick it in your arm and
Yeah.
you leave it there for 2 weeks and it pairs to your phone.
Right.
And the great thing about that is it then gives you second by second how your blood glucose is going, so you can see whatever you eat, what spikes you get or none.
And so the idea with blood glucose is that you want it to be as flat as possible, and why a lot of us have peaks and then major troughs in our energy is because our blood glucose levels are spiking, say, after eating a big meal of pasta or sugary food, and then they're crashing, which is why I say at 3 o'clock we go for the chocolate, because we need to boost our energy again. And so we were experimenting with the foods and the meals that we ate and how we could try to minimize those peaks and troughs in our blood glucose levels. So we did that for 2 weeks. I mean, that's one experiment.
And how did it go? Did you realise that you shouldn't be eating Maccas and things like that? Is that? I suppose I shouldn't say that, but I'm Maccas. I'm sorry. I love you. I eat Maccas every now and again. What was some of the
advertising.
Yeah, exactly. What did you discover about your food habits then? And did you make a change?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
some small things and some really big things. Some things that you think are healthy will make an impact on each of us differently. So, for example, I really like Asian food, and rice noodles are one of my things that I like having, either fried up or in soups or whatever. And I found out rice noodles, it's rice and water. That's it. It spikes me.
Wow.
Which is crazy. And so I'm better off with just plain rice or something like that, or like a wheat noodle type thing.
Yeah. So for me, porridge. I love porridge, and porridge is a so-called healthy, in inverted commas, food. It's got a low GI, particularly if they're not sort of, really finely cut up or powdered oats. But for me, that massively spiked me. And so I pretty much stopped eating porridge, which makes me sad, but makes the inside of my body happy. So that's one experiment. I mean, we're actually in the middle of an experiment at the moment where towards the end of it, we've both taken the week off work and we have decided to do a digital detox experiment. So basically no email, no TV, no news except for the newspaper, essentially nothing to do with screens, although we're allowed to Google something if we're, wanting to know more about something, and we can call people and text message. But
And if we want to create on a screen, like if I wanted to, like I do design work just for fun, and also for Amantha. So if I'm doing creating, fine, no problems.
Okay.
But consuming, we've said no for this week.
And how are your sugar glucose levels now?
Oh, the digital detox is great for that. It's interesting how often you reach for your phone without thinking about it.
Yes.
It really is.
Have you? I mean, you mentioned that you were reading newspapers. Have you, given that you're not being exposed to all the information that's coming through with your screens, are you less likely to go to the newspaper now?
I'm a bit of a news junkie.
Oh, yeah?
I would pick up the phone probably 3-4 times a day just to check the news. So I found that very difficult. Reading the paper itself, whether it be a paper, one that you can touch and feel, it doesn't have the same kind of emotional drive for me. It's not getting that immediate news that I must get the update right now. And so therefore it doesn't have the same hold over me, which is really quite strange. Yeah. So we've bought it a couple of days we haven't bought it also. And I've been okay.
Which has been so weird buying a newspaper midweek, I must say. But the other thing with a newspaper is that, like, when you read the news online, there's never an end point.
Yes.
Because you can just keep clicking and clicking and clicking. But when you buy the hard copy of the newspaper, you reach the end. And at that point, you can go, I've finished checking the news.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the next thing in my life.
Yes. That's so true. The never-ending scroll that you never reach the end of. Yep. That's so
There's always
true.
something to click into as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, it's so funny having this conversation in a way because it's sort of like, you can imagine our grandparents hearing this conversation going, what are you talking about that you have to actually consciously put something down to have a conversation? It's like the other day I heard that they were talking about on the news something called naked walks. I think that's the right term.
Oh, you said this.
And naked
Check
walks.
this out. This is unbelievable.
It's this new thing that kids are discovering and people are doing. Naked walks, it's when you walk without your phone.
Okay, but you've got your clothes.
You've got your clothes. You walk without music or listening to a podcast or on your phone.
Music.
You just go for a walk. It's called naked walks. It's this new thing. And I was like, oh, what have we become? This is terrible. It's like, it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing. It's the right thing.
It's a hard thing as well. I used to have a thing before our experiments. I used to have a theme. I had a theme per month a couple of years back. And one of the themes that I had was solace. And so I had a month without TV, games, no socials, no music. And I love music and no podcasts, and I'm a bit of an addict.
Yeah.
And it is such a different world to live in, going back to what it would have been for our grandparents.
Wow.
Is it desirable for you to be in that world?
Yeah, it is. It's funny. Like even this week, and it's only been a week, and not total. Like I'm still listening to music and things like that. I've come up with AI. I've come up with 3 small MVP little business ideas for AI. And I wonder whether I would have come up with those ideas. Well, 2 of them are with Amantha, so 2 of them are ours. But I don't know whether we would have come up with those if we were just sitting, consuming, picking up the phone or whatever. So I think we're more creative without those distractions.
You mentioned, of course, Frankie. How has that been for you, Neo, dating someone with a little one?
Oh, it's been awesome. So my background is, after my last relationship, which was a very long one, I didn't have any children. And so there was that part where I thought, well, it's not going to happen for me. And I was okay with that, absolutely okay with that. But I was open to any relationship with the right person, whether they had children or not, because the children are so important, but you're not going to be, be in a long-term relationship or marrying the children. You're marrying your partner, and the children become the bonus part of it, if indeed that happens. And it's been a great relationship with Frankie, and we're building that up over time, and we took that very carefully. Amantha had some excellent advice on that we took. So it was like an 18-month journey to where we are now.
Yeah. So what happened when I was in the depths of dating? My best friend, closest girlfriend, was in a similar position. We both left our marriages at similar times, and we were really into the online dating together and would share stories a lot. And then just for a bit of fun, we decided to create a podcast around dating called How to Date, I think it was called. We did a couple of seasons. And through that, we interviewed quite a lot of people that were experts in different realms of things to think about when you're dating. And one of those people was Michael Carr-Gregg, who's quite well known in Australia for being a sort of a child and adolescent psychologist and just giving some really good advice. And we interviewed Michael, and we were talking about what happens like when you've got kids and what's the right time to introduce your partner, and then when should you be doing sleepovers when you've got the child. And so I've got Frankie 50% of the time. She's with her dad the other 50%. And Michael had said, look, I recommend that you wait 6 months from the first date before introducing your child or children to your partner. Then recommend that you wait another 6 or so months before you do your first sleepover, where the child's in the house and your partner's sleeping over. then at least another 6 months before moving in together. And, he had some different reasoning as to why. And I really took that to heart.
Yeah.
So, I think Neo was the only person I dated that I did introduce to Frankie. And for me, that 6 months was important because I didn't want to introduce Frankie to someone that could be in my life and then out of my life because she's already had enough change in her, relatively short time on Earth so far. And so we spent so much time, Neo and I, talking about what would that first encounter, that first meeting with Frankie involve, because the stakes were really high.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
We decided we'd make it an active thing
Bowling?
as well, rather than bowling again. No. So the advice was, first off, make sure that the child, but make sure Frankie is comfortable. And so you do that on her home turf. So it's the outside person, me, comes into her known space so she feels comfortable, and then that person leaves. And so then you're continually reinforcing that she's got that great relationship with her mum and you're just popping in and out and you're not going to change that relationship. And so we thought, what are we going to do? And she enjoys, doing things, and so she's quite creative. And so we thought, let's do pizza. That'd be fun because I like cooking. And there was pizza, and also Pokemon was the other carrot there as well. So making pizza is something I can do. I don't do it terribly often, but I think that the yeast was not working particularly well, and so I'd made this pig, and here I am freaking out because the damn thing wasn't rising. Maybe I didn't have the right temperature on it and the whole thing, because my house was pretty cool. It's the middle of winter then, and so I'm freaking about, oh my God, the first meeting, the pizza's going to be terrible. I went and bought a pizza base, so at least
I was going to say that you can buy pizza bases.
That makes two.
I know,
the pizza
it's great.
dough and,
Exactly. and the 7-year-old then, isn't going to know or care whether you've bought a pizza base. But that's my pride, damn it. I want the pizza to be right. So we assembled a pizza together, and Amantha had said, she loves Pokemon, and so I then spent about 5 hours researching Pokemon because I've got no idea what the hell Pokemon styles, types, etc. are, and bought a Pokemon set so we can compare cards and things like that. And that was our first Frankie date.
Yeah, it was really next level. I mean, who else studies for Pokemon? I
sweet.
Well, this is why you guys clearly get along well, because you're making spreadsheets for dating. He's studying to be a better Pokemon player.
I love it. What did Frankie say to you, Amantha, after meeting Neo for the first time?
Oh, yeah.
She loved him. And what I find interesting is that she's still, and it's been a year and a half since that first meeting, she still remembers that first pizza making encounter. Like it really stuck with her. And I mean, we're also really mindful about the first time that Neo stayed the night as well. And again, we thought a lot about it, and we thought, how do we curate an experience here that is going to be like a really fun one? Because it can be strange. I mean, Frankie doesn't really wake in the middle of the night anymore. She's kind of beyond that. But there is always that kind of fear in a parent's mind going, what's that going to be like if the child wakes and they walk into the bedroom and then there's a person that's not their dad in bed? Like that's, that can be quite...
Even though they know that person's going to be there, you're half asleep and you're just a young kid and this doesn't make sense. And
So what we did for that is Neo went out and he purchased 3 onesies that like these
I love it.
I think I was a tiger, Neo was a
rainbow unicorn.
A rainbow unicorn.
And Frankie was a Lilo and Stitch, the blue character from the Disney. Yep.
And so we had a little onesie party where we all just dressed up in these onesies all night and had fun, and it was just a non-event, the fact that Neo was sleeping over. And again, when Neo moved in, it was such a non-event, and I think that's how we knew that the timing was right, that it was just no big deal.
Are the onesies still in play?
Pretty rarely. They're hot. They're really hot.
That's Melbourne winter onesie. That's when you need those.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes.
That is so sweet. I love that.
It's so kind, so thoughtful.
Really thoughtful.
And really respectful.
I feel another book is coming, Amantha, with the two of you writing about how to do stepchildren, how to work that in. But look, speaking of books, tell us about Health Habit. This is your latest book. This is your third book now.
Latest book, fourth book even.
Fourth book, wow.
Yeah. So the idea for the Health Habit came to me a little while ago. I just put Time Wise out, which was my last book around how we can use our time more wisely. And I felt a bit of pressure to come up with the next great book idea while, to sort of pitch that to my publishers at Penguin. And I've always just been so passionate and interested, fascinated about health. I read so much about it. I've had all sorts of kind of like normal people health issues, like massive insomnia in my 20s and also in my 30s, think a lot about what I eat, but, again, probably 10 years back and for decades of my life was completely addicted to sugar and have had, very haphazard relationship with exercise. And so I read a lot about it, and I've turned different aspects of my health around quite a lot in the last few years. And I was kind of thinking, there are so many books about health. What could I bring to the world of health? But then it occurred to me, there's so many books about health, but people keep buying these books about how to shape up, lose weight, sleep better. It's like they learn this stuff, but nothing's actually sticking. And at the same time, and as a psychologist, there's this whole other section of the bookshop around how to change, like how to build new habits and how to change your behavior. And it seemed to me that shouldn't those two books, those two genres, if you like, collide? Because we maybe we know what to do with our health, maybe we don't know how to improve it, but we certainly have a lot of trouble making that knowledge and those new habits stick. And so that was the idea, to go, what is the latest science telling us around how can we sleep better, eat better, and get fit, in terms of what are the sort of underutilized but highly impactful methods? And then more importantly, how can we identify what are the barriers standing in the way to achieving that change permanently? And the book actually diagnoses which four main barriers are in the way for you as a reader. And it goes into behavior change strategies around how can you make those new health habits stick. And that's the book.
Amazing. So it is a workbook as such as well. So you're asking people to actually take an action when they read it.
It's a really practical book. Yeah. It's kind of, I think of it like a choose your own adventure, where it's like, what's the thing that is having the biggest negative impact on your health right now? Is it the lack of a great night's sleep? Is it feeling like you're a bit out of shape? Is it, maybe having these, massive sugar cravings and then crashes in the afternoon? And so it's about what you're eating. And then going, okay, what is the biggest barrier standing in the way of change? And then you go down that path. Maybe it's motivation. Maybe it's, the physical environment that you're living within. Maybe it's the social relationships around you, and understanding what that is, and then getting some strategies to overcome that.
I've been very lucky. I've been able to read some of Amantha's book, and what I loved about it is, as you said, there's a lot of health books out there. There's a lot of self-help books out there, but sometimes they just feel so overwhelming. It's like, okay, you need to start working out 4 days a week, cut sugar, cut this, cut gluten, dairy, and then off you go. And if for someone who's just starting, trying to get healthy, it's too much. It's like, I can't just flick that switch. But in Amantha's book, it's like she coaches you through it in a way where there's little steps that actually, I can do that. That makes sense to me. I can implement that today. That's an easy one to do. And then you kind of build on that, right?
Exactly.
So they're doable blocks,
really doable,
small doable
really
chunks
doable.
that build into something bigger. Yeah, good on you. Hey, do you have, is just for our listener today, is there 3 kind of key things that you would leave them with, a thought?
For sure, on the topic of health. Yeah. So Well, I'll give one from each of those three categories. We won't go into the habit change stuff now. But look, if we're talking about what we're eating, so nutrition, and we spoke a bit about, blood sugar levels, and ideally we want them to be as stable as possible as opposed to peaking and then crashing. Something that you can do, and there's some really interesting research behind this, is eat your vegetables first and then eat proteins, fats, and then finish with carbs or sugary things. So by eating vegetables first, and obviously this is not possible with all meals. If you're eating spaghetti bolognese, not quite going to work. But let's just say, you're eating a classic, steak with some
salad
fries
and chips,
and some salad. So if you eat the salad first and then the steak and then the fries, you'll actually have much less of a blood glucose spike than if you were to, say, eat the fries first and then the steak and then the salad. So it's also, I think of it as like save the best for last, because really fries are better than salad. But if you do that, that will have a really noticeable impact on your blood sugar levels, which will even out your energy and you'll feel better after that meal. Another one, so from the movement section of the book, is, there's like a lot of people have a goal to walk 10,000 steps a day. And, often watches or fitness devices are designed to encourage you to have that as a goal. But there's actually no science behind 10,000 steps being the ideal amount of steps to do in the day when we look at mortality rates. Ideally, we want to be stepping as much as we need to reduce the chance of premature death by something that is preventable. And what the research actually shows is that actually 7,500 steps is where you get the biggest benefit. Right. So stop trying to do 10,000 steps and instead aim for 7,500. And then look, a final one from the section on sleep. There's a chapter in that section of the book that I call doing a pre-sleep task dump, where often what can happen during the day, and, we've talked a lot about digital distraction, and often we will turn to our devices to distract ourselves from the stress of the day. It's a really great way of kind of repressing the things that we don't want to be thinking about because they're too hard to think about. But then when we're lying in bed at night and our phone is hopefully in another room, but the reality is a lot of people sleep next to their phones, but they're at least off their phone while they're trying to get to sleep, is that all those stressful thoughts and ruminations come back into our mind because finally our mind has a chance to think about that. And that can be really bad for sleep. And for anyone that is light awake, just worrying about things, that is not good. That is a recipe for insomnia. So what some really great research from America has shown is that if we can, before bed, just spend 5 minutes writing down a to-do list. So things that are on our mind, they might be unfinished tasks from the day, they might be things that we need to do or think about in the next few days. If we can spend just 5 minutes doing that, we significantly improve the quality of our sleep, and also we reduce the time it takes to fall asleep at night. So a really simple hack that will have a noticeable difference on your sleep.
Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome.
Love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I really I encourage my listeners on Smooth FM at night time to write, just get everything out of your head, pretty much exactly what you just said. And it does work. The other thing too is write 3 things that you're grateful for as well. You feel good, go to sleep
Going to
feeling
bed on
good.
something grateful.
Yeah,
That's lovely.
feeling that gratitude.
We do something called the 2-minute shower. My husband's written 2-minute shower of power, which that's the first time I've heard that before. So I'm excited that this is something
I've
new.
actually installed a new shower head. It's got 3 different settings. You can massage the neck, and it gets the thoughts going really nicely.
Nice. It's solar powered as well.
It can be,
I love
let's
that.
go with that.
Why not? Why not? So we're going to ask you both the same question, and it's sort of just if you can keep your answers short, like one word if possible. Of course, you're allowed to do more than that. Okay, you want to do the first one?
Yeah. What habit does your partner have that you find adorable?
Oh, whenever Neo is making a coffee on our coffee machine at home, he will always, without fail, ask if I would like one too. And I do find that very wonderful.
Oh,
And do you like coffee?
I do like coffee, but I only have one a day.
Yeah, because I ask Alison if she likes coffee, but she doesn't like coffee. I called out to you across the road today. You want a coffee? She's like, looking at me going, you know I don't like coffee.
How many years have we been together?
Sorry, I'm distracting.
Oh, dear.
All right,
Neo,
Neo,
yes.
yeah.
I don't know if it's probably not adorable, but it's one of the things that I really love about her, which is she's open-minded to anything. And so if I want to open up and talk to her, or I've got an idea about something, she is always there and always open, and I love that.
Nice. If you could relive one day with each other, what would it be?
Oh, I would say our first date. It was a magical first date, and it was the kind of date where you go, there is something really, really good here. And that would be pretty cool to relive that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You've taken that one, so thank you. I would probably say we went up to Queensland as the three of us, and I did a day trip and did an island day trip. Well, when they say island day trip, it was just to the other bay. And we went snorkeling, Frankie and I, and we came out for a sort of short time. We took a boat ride out and then it sat in the sun and just lounged, the three of us. That was a pretty good day.
There you go.
Yeah.
What is it about your relationship that makes you feel grateful?
Wow. I couldn't imagine a better partner and just a better human. Like, Neo is just he's just there for me. And particularly like in the bad times. I think in the good times it's easy, not easy, but it's easier to have a good relationship and feel good about everything. But I know when things are hard, like when I'm feeling stressed or just, you know, not great stuff is happening in life, he is just so there for me. He's just this perfect mix of empathy but also good advice. And I feel like, how did they design someone that just gets it right? Like, for how I need them to react, they react exactly how I want them to. That's how I feel about Neo.
Well, he is Neo.
Oh my God.
Good point.
Flowing on that.
I'm going to get so much crap when we finish it. All right.
For me, I feel we're a team. And I feel that in so many ways we're able to share our workday, and I think that is such an important thing. So many couples have a partner who doesn't know what they do for their day job, and we can share that with each other. We can share, obviously, Frankie, kids chat always comes up with people who've got children in the family. But how we're feeling, how we're going, I feel like she's always there and always backing me up, and I love that.
Nice. What do you miss when you're not together?
Oh, I think I miss our chats. We're always just talking about stuff, and I miss that. And I miss the physical touch as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the same. It's hard to tell because we still talk while we're away from each other, and it hasn't been terribly often that we have to travel. But yeah, I'd say the same. Yeah, absolutely. Our chats. There's something different about being in the same room and, say, sitting on the couch. I think that the touch is really important. Like, even if it comes to giving a shoulder massage while we're just chatting on the couch, those kind of things. It's a way to connect over and above just sending a message or saying something. So, yeah, definitely physical touch while you're in the same room, talking, sharing something together.
Right on. One word to describe each other.
I would say thoughtful. Like, Neo, like, he's so generous and giving, and he's just an empathic. Just, I feel like thoughtful is very, very Neo.
Curious, without a doubt.
Awesome. Hey, you guys, thank you so much. I had a feeling we were going to have quite a profound chat with you two, and it's been wonderful. So thank you so much for coming in. Good luck. Would you consider extending your screen-free experiment beyond the week?
100% I would. I've loved it.
Yeah.
Would you?
I find it a bit harder. I'm a visual kind of person. I love movies and things like that.
Yeah.
I would certainly consider it. I've done it for a month, so that's not a big issue. What's in it for me, Cam?
I don't know, mate.
Good question.
You are the one, Neo. It's you. You tell me.
We have to go before you make any Matrix comparisons.
Oh, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much. And the book is called
Healthy Habits.
Healthy Habits.
The health habit.
The
Health Habit.
I've got it.
Oh, sorry.
And you've read it.
That was my fault. I tried to jump in like a know-all.
Yeah. No, it's great. No. Yeah. Thank you again so much, guys.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, they're gone. Do I have to dodge bullets now in slow motion from you? Am I going to get... Oh, come on. He was cool.
I know he was cool.
I know. And I know he probably gets it every freaking day.
He gets it every freaking day. It's a bit, yeah. Look, I'm sure it is pretty cool. Like it's an unusual name. And the fact that he's in AI is pretty, like you can't help but make the connection.
Yeah,
I know.
And talking about connection and disconnection and all those things, what he's doing. I mean, it's experimenting. I mean, phenomenal.
I love that. And the fact that he was already doing experiments on his own even before he met her. So, I mean, talk about a perfect couple. Like, they just really fit together beautifully well.
Well, I don't know how well I articulated it, but that's, when you're vibing together and they clearly, they drew each other. They came to each other. They couldn't hang if one of them wasn't with the program.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, they're both they're very interested and interesting people.
Yeah.
So, and their interests being the same like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really, really great chat.
They must have inspired conversations on their couch and going, oh, what should we road test now? What's our experiment?
I know. What do you want to do? Do you want an experiment? Want to go?
What, like run the car on on oil from the stove?
Yeah, bacon fat. Let's do it.
We get plenty of that. We love our bacon. I love how to make crispy bacon.
We know that now.
Tip the fat out of the pan
That's
while you're
right.
cooking it. It gets the bacon crispy.
Yeah.
We're full of great tips.
Yes.
Oh, he's got that because I watched it on TV. They wouldn't have seen that because they're off the screen at the moment.
That's right. We can inform them, though. We can let them know.
We should ring them up and say,
We should.
hey, if you want to make crispy bacon, tip the fat.
She'll probably go, that is not a good health habit.
Buy
In
the
fact,
book.
don't have bacon at all.
Buy the book.
Yeah.
Health Habits.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening,
Yeah.
everyone. Hope you enjoyed it.
Bye for now.